Good morning, everyone, and happy Tuesday. Welcome to Thoughts and Coffee. My name is Sarah Barnes-Humphrey, and I am the founder and host of Let's Talk Supply Chain, as well as the founder and host of the Blended podcast, which is the newest conversation in diversity and inclusion, which we've now turned into a nonprofit called the Blended Pledge because we want to see more diverse voices on stages and in audiences at industry conferences. So I'm super excited to be here with you today. We've got, as usual, a jam-packed agenda. We've got some really great supply chain topics, and I've got an amazing guest with me today, which I can't wait to introduce you to. But first, we need to talk about what's happening at Let's Talk Supply Chain. So let's do that. So we've got a brand new episode with Flock Freight. And if you haven't heard of them, they are a unicorn company. They have just, I think, reached $1 billion, and they are doing some amazing things in sustainability. They're also doing some amazing things in shared truckload. So you want to join me because that's when we talk about everything that they're doing, what they're doing differently, how they've become a certified B Corp, and really put a focus on sustainability and helping their clients reduce their carbon footprint and actually meet their KPIs. So you don't want to miss that one. It's episode 241, either on the letstalksupplychain.com or our YouTube channel or wherever you subscribe to the podcast. So go and check that out. And remember, so we are giving away all sorts of things right now. So I think it's this one. Yes. So first of all, Michael over in New Zealand, he got his Let's Talk Supply Chain mug for being the follower of the month. And he put together a little video for us to see, and I love to see that. So you could have one of the Let's Talk Supply Chain mugs as well. Just make sure that you engage with all of our posts throughout the month, and we are going to pick a winner. Plus, this month, we're also giving away 4 Oceans bracelets. So I really want to help, obviously clean up the oceans. And one of the ways that we can do that is through 4Ocean, who does an amazing job. Every single one of these bracelets takes a pound of debris out of the ocean, and it's made up out of the debris that they actually collect in the oceans as well. And then on top of that, I'm going to be paying for another pound to be taken off for every single bracelet. So if you guys are engaging with us this month, we are going to give away 4 of these bracelets. So you want to engage with all of our posts, and we're going to be picking 5 winners this month, which I cannot wait. And then also you can get our free supply chain dictionary if you go to the Let's Talk Supply Chain Instagram and you DM us Talk One. So that's all about our giveaways this morning. I'm super excited about them. We are going to be doing this with 4Oceans a lot, and I definitely want to be seeing everybody engaging with us and winning those amazing bracelets and the mug from all over the world. So now I want to be talking about our events. So this week we've got Purpose, Planet, Profit with Topple. This is our live stream with Topple. They're going to be talking about the coffee supply chain. And so you're not going to want to miss that. If you drink coffee, and obviously if you're with us for Thoughts and Coffee today, I think that you do. So let's find out where it comes from and how it's traced all the way into your cup. So that comes up on Wednesday at 12 p.m. Eastern. Plus, we've got the Global Supply Chain Sustainability Summit with 4Kites. That's happening March 9th. And then obviously action items with Dyci. Dyci is my guest today, and we're going to be learning way more about her new show. We've got Hope White. She's got her own brand new live stream show coming up next Friday. Not this Friday, next Friday, no bullshipping. And she's going to be telling you like it is in trucking and everything around drayage and shipping and all sorts of things. So you're not going to want to miss that. We're going to have that event up on Friday. Of course, we've got Log Tech Live that happens the first Friday of every month. Thoughts and Coffee. We've got Coming in Hot coming up next Thursday as well with Abby Baird. What else? Oh, we got Manifest. So I am going to be live in Vegas as of next Tuesday for the Manifest Conference. So on January 26th, I'm going to be hosting a panel discussion about visibility on stage. And then I'm going to be at their women's luncheon for that day. And then I'm also going to be recording an episode of the podcast with Overhaul on site at 3:30 on the Wednesday as well. So if you are there live and in person, I want to see you. So come up and see me. I'm hopefully going to be wearing a Let's Talk Supply Chain shirt because with the masks, you might not be able to recognize me. So please come up and say hi. All right. Without further ado, we are going to bring up our guest for today, and that is Dyci. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
I am great. Coming off a long, restful weekend. I didn't get as much rest as I was hoping to get over the holiday break. So I really took Saturday, Sunday, Monday to just rest. So
Nice.
I feel like totally pumped and just rejuvenated and ready to go, like full of ideas and passion
Yay.
and energy.
Well, you look amazing. I love that color on you, and we're going to be talking about that color and that shirt in just a
Yes,
little bit.
I'm getting everything ready. I
I
was
can't
even
wait.
like looking just now, like someone, who am I going to tag? Like I need to, unapologetically, no, like not embarrassed at all. I want to be your friend.
Well, I cannot wait to talk about this company because you just brought it up before we came out here, and we're going to be talking about it because it's pretty amazing. But before we do that, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself for anybody who might not know who you are?
Yes. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, world, afternoon, evening, wherever you're joining us from. My name is Dyci Sfregola, and I am the founder and CEO of New Gen Architects. So we work with startups and small businesses to get them through supply chain transformations, focusing on technology-driven technology implementations. So super excited to be here and looking forward to our chat today.
Yeah. So, why don't we tell everybody about your show? You had your first live show with Let's Talk
Yes.
Supply Chain
First
last
first
week,
show jitters all out.
and here we are. That happened last Friday. You had a great turnout. You've had a ton of great feedback. So, tell us about your show and what everybody can kind of expect moving forward. I know that AJ is going to be put the post to the YouTube show in the links or in the comments so that you guys can link and go and watch it. But tell us what everybody can expect moving forward.
Yes. So going forward, what we are doing at Action Items is taking all of the amazing content from different conversations that we have been having over, what are we now, going into 2 years? So, once COVID hit and supply chain was thrust to the forefront, what we all saw, especially those of us that are very active on LinkedIn, there was a lot of just community working together, having conversations. How do we get started? How do we improve? Where are things going now? How do we navigate this? We started to hear a lot of buzzwords, but also not buzzwords. They just kind of now become part of vocabulary because that's really is what we're striving for: resilient supply chains, agile supply chains,
Yeah.
shorter supply chains. So we hear a lot about it. There are a lot of podcasts, a lot of really great conversations, but I personally always felt like at the end of those conversations, at the end of hearing experts and thought leaders talk about it, it was like, okay, cool. I have all of these notes. And now where do I start? Because this is going to take me 3 to 5 years. If I'm a supply chain practitioner, that's what I was thinking. So I said, okay, with Action Items, what can we give people that they can actually start working on next week, next month, something to get some type of value, to start to build momentum, to build buy-in, to get everyone on the same page, because it's hard. Right now, people are really just still trying to keep the lights on. So how do we keep the lights on, but also parallel path, walk and chew gum at the same time, start to really innovate and get to those kind of sci-fi futuristic supply chains? You think of the promise of digital supply chain. I actually talked about that on a podcast, The Logistics of Logistics. And we talked about the promise of the digital supply chain. And there are so many things that we're going to be able to achieve, but we also have to get there. as an industry
Yeah.
as a whole. It's not just something that any individual company can start to do.
Yeah. And
So
taking action a little bit
yeah,
at a time
exactly.
and really,
Yes.
like, watching your show, and then at the end, you're like, "You need to take a look at this and do this next," and I love that because I always think that when we're listening to podcasts and things like that, just tell me what I need to do.
Yes. Yes. You need to implement an S&OP process, Sarah. Duh. Go
And
do
where
that
do I
tomorrow.
start? No, I love that. I love that. So if anybody wants to check it out, it's the second Friday at 10 a.m. Eastern. So you're going to be coming up the second Friday in March for your next one. But again, we've got the
February.
link.
We're still in
I mean,
January.
February. What
February
have I
11th.
got? Are we still in January? Because
Yes.
I'm rolling ahead to February. Anyways, second Friday in February,
Yes.
and we've got the link to the YouTube show in the comments as well. I just want to say a good morning to Aaron, Nairobi, John, Amrit, John, Angel, and Diana. Thank you so much for joining us over on my personal LinkedIn as well. We can't forget you over there. And so now we're going to be talking about my poll, and then we're going to get to your sweater.
Yes.
So let's get to the poll really quickly. So this poll that we did last week, what's the worst corporate saying you've heard in a meeting? Now, let me tell you, we had over 500 votes. 49% of you said circle back was the worst saying that you heard.
That's what I wrote down as mine too. Circle back. And it's not the worst. I just I use it and I hate that I use it because I just feel like, oh, let's not.
I do it in emails all the time.
I like drinking from a fire hose or a fire hydrant, maybe. I don't know. But what the first time that I heard it, I was like, oh, I totally get it. And one I really like that maybe some people also think is trite and kind of over it, but clear as mud. Because it goes along with the drinking from a fire. When you first start and like you're onboarding and you're trying to figure everything out, and then a guy goes, is it clear as mud? And I was like, yes, that's exactly what it is. Actually, it is clear as mud right now.
Well, and it's so funny because you only get 4 options for the poll, and like everybody, we had over 69 comments on this.
Low-hanging fruit is a good one too. Oh
Like,
my God, am I the person
low-hanging
that uses
fruit.
like annoying phrases in meetings?
First world problems. Like, I seriously have to change my vocabulary after this poll.
Right.
Because
I'm
there's so
embarrassed.
many
I don't
things.
even want to see anymore.
I was going through the comments. I was like, I use that one. Use that one. Use that one.
Not only do I
Okay,
use it, I
mental
like
note to
it.
self.
Like it's a go-to.
I know. Oh my God. It's
These people
so.
would hate to work with me.
Well, that's kind of what I was thinking. I was like, we might have a problem. Okay, note to self, when I'm on the airplane next Monday going to Vegas, I'm going to have to come up with some new sayings to
Right.
use. And Rhonda says, never heard clear as mud. That is a great one. Awesome.
Yes.
So now let's talk about your sweater.
Yes.
This is Sheep Ink, which I only just found out about this morning. And tell us about it, because apparently you can follow
How
the
did I find out about them? I
Yeah.
feel like it was maybe just an Instagram ad. So back when I was starting to hit the road again at the Q4 last year, I realized that my at-home sweatpants that I had adopted for the year and a half probably were not the best clothes to go see clients in. So I just went on I don't even know who the brands are anymore. You know what I mean? I didn't want to go to the legacy usual suspects. I am I think a lot of us, especially in supply chain, trying to become a conscious consumer. Trying to understand how I can do my part in sustainability, circularity, climate change, etc. So I saw, Sheep Ink carbon negative. So I was like, ooh, there's a buzzword that what does that mean? Is this greenwashing or is it really true? And they have just a few colors. But I have this one, which I think we said is coral.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I love it. It looks good.
And then I got 2 of these, like this gold color.
Nice.
But what I really like about them, so the packaging was great. The tracking was great. Like I said earlier, I want someone at Sheep Ink to talk to me. Just specifically, the technology investment that is required to be able to provide the consumer experience
Yeah.
of having a QR code on your clothes to where you can track the sheep that your wool came from.
And you
And
named your sheep, right?
yeah, well, it's called Sheepy, so that's not
You named your sheep Sheepy?
I did name my sheep Sheepy.
That is awesome.
But I know where it is. I can actually here. Let's do some real time. I can actually click.
All right. Quickly, because we got to get to our supply chain topics. We got a
I
lot
know,
to
right?
talk about.
I can click, but it's very supply chain related because look, it tells me where my wool went, the carbon footprint and offset, the current location. Sheepy is 11,000 kilometers from me.
Nice. We
So
need
who
to
knows
get
how many
double.
sweaters Sheepy is providing, but I mean, just the packaging,
Yeah.
the entire experience was very like this is their mission, but they're walking the walk and talking the talk. And that's what we love to see.
Yeah.
And they just started in October 2019. So it's a
Wow.
very new company.
Yeah.
And, you know, when we talk about Dugin architects and the stuff that we're doing, and even just in supply chain in general, finding new ways to do stuff.
Yeah.
Let's stop the excuse of it's too expensive. Let's stop the excuse of it takes too long, because there are brands that are doing it. There are
Yeah.
small companies, there are startups that are doing it. And this sweater didn't cost me $1,000. You know what I mean? It was reasonable for 3 sweaters, very fast shipping, very good tracking.
And nice colors
Yeah,
that
and
are
nice
super
quality.
comfy.
Very nice quality, very, very nice quality. So
Awesome.
yeah, somebody hook me up, please.
All right. Well, we've got to get on to our supply chain topics. Just want to say a quick hello to Tempest and Kelvin for joining us on over on my personal.
Hey,
All right.
Tempest.
So, the first article that we're going to talk about, this one was in the New York Times talking about bringing manufacturing back to the United States of America.
I
We've been
love this
talking
article.
about this off and on. I don't know why that's up. Okay. We've been talking about this off and on since the beginning of COVID, because a lot of people are talking about where they want to spend their risk. Do we want to spend it moving products from overseas? Do we want to spend it bringing that back home and shoring, near shoring, reshoring, whatever you want to call it, dress it up and call it? That's what it is. And so there are a lot of companies. So this particular article goes after, talks about American Knits, and they
In
actually do
Georgia. Woo,
in
woo.
Georgia, yeah, they do all of their manufacturing in Georgia. They're one of the very few. They talk about remembering the row of manufacturing that used to be there that's not there anymore. And then it goes into technology and automobile companies talking about building facilities. $4 billion from GM in Michigan, $1 billion from Toyota in North Carolina, 17 billion for Samsung in Texas. So these numbers are very real. These possibilities are extremely real because they're already talking about building these facilities. Sustainability is playing a role, which is what we just talked about with Sheep Inc. Kind of the challenge with that, though, is that fashion and furniture, they don't really have the margins to be able to make some of these big moves. So it'll be interesting to see what's going to happen. Although they're saying with some of the rising costs in fashion, that's going to be able to help with automation and bringing that back into the USA as well. So what do you think about this from a risk management standpoint, digital standpoint? What stood out to you in this article? I think it's a great article, so check it out and
I
comment.
love this article because it touched on everything that you just talked about. And the big thing that I was thinking about as I was reading it is like, yes, this all sounds very nice,
Right.
but you know, when is it going to happen? And this was a very all-encompassing article that I think if you had not heard of reshoring, if you had not heard of what's going on, what timelines are expected, then this is one of those articles you can take 10 to 15 minutes and get caught up. So it did say, you know, we're not really going to see a lot of the effects of these investments and moving things back over into the US or, you know, Canada. They even mentioned maybe some manufacturing would go to Mexico for the sake of just, again, nearshoring versus reshoring. But we're not really going to see jobs and things coming back like that until the late 2020s. So if you think about, how much time it's going to take because things are so complex. It's not something where you just call up the supplier and say, hey, we're not going to use you anymore, especially in those, low margin industries.
Yeah.
So not all industries are created equal. Not all companies are created equal. So there is going to be some creativity
Yeah.
around, how to actually make it happen. But I also like that it talked about, kind of that public private partnership. Some of it is going to be related to tariffs and subsidies. Some of it is going to be related to policy changes. Like I said, I was going through this article and I was like, every time I thought, yeah, but what about whatever, kind of skeptical because
Talked about it.
we see so much on like the news and it's like, yeah, we're gonna run the port 24 hours and that's gonna resolve all the problems. And it's like, it's not. So
Yeah.
so this article, as I was going through, was like, yeah, but what about? And then the next paragraph was that thing. So
Awesome.
yeah,
Awesome.
so I really, really, I loved it. And from a, like you mentioned, from a risk management perspective, a lot of companies are trying to figure out, do I just order a lot of inventory and stack it up? Do I redo my entire network and put warehouses in different places? Do I have
Right.
multiple suppliers? There's just a lot of conversation right now and there's no silver bullet, but this article was a great one that went through all of the factors that we have to consider and how complex it is. And to hear late 2020 is
Mhm.
like, it's not going to happen tomorrow.
I
It's not
know.
going to happen next
I know.
year. I see so much 2 to 3 years, 3 to 5 years. And I'm like, no, it's not, because I'm talking to companies and we're doing 3 to 5 year roadmaps. And it puts us nowhere near,
Yeah.
this vision that people have of it's just going to flip a light switch. There's so many different factors.
Yeah, and Barham says, "What is the impact on workforce and new talents?" I think, those jobs that it's going to bring back, I mean, obviously is going to help with that, but we're all hearing about talent shortage and people not wanting to go back to work and different things like that. So I think only time will tell how that whole thing is going to play out. So our second article is from a website called The Conversation, which I just found out about a couple of days ago. But this one talks about what 2022 kind of looks like. If I can scroll down just a little bit here, big challenges for supply chains in 2022. And they talk about it in a variety of different ways than we've been talking about it at the end of 2021. So they mention e commerce, they talk about Brexit, exchange rates, which is not something we talk about a lot, building international teams, which is incredibly important. And I've actually got a webinar coming up in February with Nucleus to talk about the ins and outs of building global teams and what you need to know, because there's this ton of like rules and regulations for each country, and if you're going to hire in those countries or open up offices. So we're going to go over that, because obviously having remote teams allows you to expand, and that webinar is going to be super important for anybody looking to expand their global teams. But one of the things in this article they said is predictable unpredictability, which I think is my new phrase for 2022, thanks to the conversation. And I love that. So, DC, you had some action items, some tangible action items that people could walk away with from your show last week that had to do with risk management and what to think about in 2022. Do you want to give people an idea of what you talked about and what the action
Yeah,
items were that they
definitely.
could take away with?
Yeah, definitely. The biggest the it's funny because you just said predictable unpredictability. The
I
biggest takeaway was like to know your known risk and your unknown risk, and
know.
like that things are going to happen that you don't know about.
Yeah,
So you're predicting that these unpredictable things are going to happen. But aside from that, like things that you can do now, again, going back to those tangible takeaways that you can do now, identify a risk owner. And the idea behind that is like kind of we were talking through the pre-show also is that these risk is inherent in planning. And a lot of times when we say risk management, it sounds like this whole other thing that has to happen. But if you're planning something, especially when we're doing technology implementations, when we are, doing these big transitions, changing ways of working, changes business processes, there's always someone in the meeting. And I talked about this with Bio on Friday. There's always someone in the meeting that says, well, what if XYZ happens?
Right.
That's risk planning. That's risk management. But what happens is someone will respond to them and then it doesn't go anywhere. But if you have a risk owner, they take all of those insights and they come up with contingency plans.
Love
And
that.
then they can communicate that to the rest of the organization. And what the other takeaway was creating a risk aware culture. So everyone should be a risk manager. Everyone should understand the business processes enough, and they should know enough about the network to be able to say, okay, it's time to like hit plan B button, hit plan C button, hit plan whatever button. And you have to, my takeaway from Bio was to map out the network. A lot of people don't understand their network. They haven't seen their network, or they haven't seen their network in a long time, especially since COVID. So how can you identify the risk at each node or between nodes? Well, you can't if you don't know what it looks like. And, kind of going back to that article with the conversation, I was trying to pull up, like I screenshotted this graphic and put it in my favorites on my phone. So it's like, oh, I'm going to need this. And I can't see the source. It's all grainy.
Well, Audrey says, I love the idea of risk owners. So
yes,
we've already given something for people to walk away from this conversation with
yes.
and take into their day. All right. So we've got about 4 minutes left. We've got one more article to go through, and that is from Supply Chain Dive talking about cloud technology. So now we talk about technology, we talk about implementations. We don't necessarily talk about specifically cloud technology, but this one has an interesting survey between MHI and Deloitte. They said 54% of supply chain professionals or organizations are increasing their cloud and data storage for supply chain, which is really interesting because I was kind of thinking that they are looking at other technologies to implement, but they're specifically focusing on cloud and storage. Why is that? Talk to us about a digital transformation and why is cloud and storage such a focus right now?
Yeah, it's actually very interesting because when I saw that, for me, it was like, yeah, duh. Because we very much focus more on the cloud-based technology implementations, at NGA. So when you think technology, Industry 4.0, a lot of people saying going into Industry 5.0 now, warehouse automation, robotics, a lot of people think of technology that way. But my mind always immediately goes to those cloud-based technologies because we're striving for visibility, and not visibility of like, oh, tracking where's my stuff, but sharing of data, collaboration, and not just within the company, but with your trading partners, with your retailers, with your wholesalers, with your 3PL, with your 4PL. And cloud technology allows for that. Cloud technology allows for real time / near real time. You don't always need real time data to do your planning, but you don't want stale data from like 2 weeks ago.
Right.
So cloud technologies do those computations a lot faster. There's a lot of machine learning, a lot of AI that is built into these calculation engines, I like to call them. So it provides much faster actionable insights to supply chain practitioners and planners. So they're able to strategize and make faster decisions and better decisions, especially in today's world where, the environmental, the commercial, the market, the political context of last week is no longer relevant. So if it takes you a week or 2 weeks to replan everything, then it's already stale. Cloud technologies allow us to get past that. But with supply chain, because I've worked on some finance cloud, technology implementations and supply chain, there's so much more information with supply chain because you have so many SKUs, you have so many warehouses, you want to slice and dice your information so many ways. And what that means is you need more storage. You need more space. The the systems need more space in order to do the calculation. So cloud is really going to get us to that promise of digital.
And
And
flexibility, right?
yes,
It's going to allow us to expand and
to be
and
agile, to be resilient,
yeah.
going for all of those, descriptors of supply chains that we kind of see as the future of supply chain, but starting to get us there. But
Amazing,
even with the
amazing.
future of
And
work, international teams,
yeah,
you're going to have teams everywhere. So the future of work, risk management and technology, digital transformation, that's my top 3 for 2022.
yes, I love it. Bayram, you've got some amazing questions. So I would suggest that you go and connect with DC and ask her all of these questions because I'm sure
I
she's
will
going to want.
answer.
Yeah, she's going to want to answer these. We've only got about 15 seconds left. I just wanted to say that also in this article, they say that Gen Z is going to be the ones that take us into
They didn't even
collaboration.
mention millennials.
I know.
I
I
saw,
know.
I was like, okay, boomers, Gen X, Gen Z. I guess we're just like,
We're just there.
we're, I feel like we've gotten to the age and like career point to where, I mean, toot my own horn, toot our horns, like we're running things now.
I
And
know.
it's like no one cares. There were tons of articles years ago about how we were ruining everything. Now Gen Z is the topic of everything, and
Well, they're the collaborators. I mean, I've been saying collaboration is the future of business for a while, but they're the collaborators. And
yes.
they're going to change collaboration for the future of business. Anyways, it's time for us to go. Thank you so much for everybody for joining us today. DC, thanks so much for joining me as my guest today. And next week, I'm going to be in Vegas for Manifest. So Audrey is going to be hosting Thoughts and Coffee, and she's got Jen Diaz, an international trade lawyer, that's going to join her as a guest. And they've got some amazing, amazing articles coming up. So check that out. We'll be back here next Tuesday at 10 a.m. Eastern. Have a great day, everyone. Thanks for coming.